Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 203 of our trip around the United States. We made it to Marathon last night and staged ourselves just north of the park boundary for Big Bend National Park. We have 2 days slated to explore this park, but depending on the way today goes, we may skip out on our second day and continue on our way through Texas. The day is really going to tell us how that's going to go. The weather is also a factor here. It is cold today, not quite freezing, but with the wind chill factor on us, it's a little colder than either of us really want to deal with. So we may not do as many of the hiking geocaches as we thought. We're going to see how the day plays out as we go. There are a ton of virtuals here and a ton of earth caches. There's also an opportunity to cross the river into Mexico to do a couple of unique geocaches over there. And we're hoping that things will work out, that we'll get to do that. Today is an adventure day. Whether or not we do most of the targets on our list doesn't really matter. The reason that we're down here is because we need to get the 2 DeLorme pages at the bottom of the state. And since we were already this close to Big Bend National Park, and since it has so many interesting things, I couldn't resist the opportunity to come in here and explore a little bit. We're going to see how the day goes, and from there we're going to make our decision if we're going to continue tomorrow or push on. But I know today is going to have a lot of interesting stuff, and I can't wait to show you what Big Bend National Park has in store. Come on, let's check it out.
There is no better way to start an epic day like this than a gorgeous view over the vast desert landscape. Located in the extremely remote southwest portion of Texas, Big Bend is named for the vast curve of the Rio Grande River here. It is a wildly beautiful natural region with a complex and fascinating history. Over 1 million acres of public land, including Big Bend National Park and Big Bend Ranch State Park, offer hiking, camping, river running, horse riding, mountain bicycling, birding, jeep touring, and abundant sightseeing. There are no physical geocaches located within the park boundaries. All of the geocaches that we tracked down for DeLorme Pages 74 and 75 were located outside of either entrance gate of the park. The one multi-cache that appears to be located within the southeast corner of the park is only Stage 1, which brings you on a rocky, bumpy adventure to reach a grave site. Solving for the final will bring you outside the western end of the park boundary to locate a full-sized ammo can. With very few physical options available for this page, I was extremely glad to add my name to this logbook. The only other physical option for this page brings you to Butte Terlingua, which is quite a hike up, but well worth it and provides a great view.
My second find in DeLorme Page 75. This is a tough page to get, but yes, mission accomplished.
Driving was one of my favorite parts of exploring Big Bend National Park. Each curve of the road and crest of a hill brings you a new view and a new sight to take in. This is home to a variety of plant and animal life, including over 1,200 species of plants and 450 species of birds. While that number may not sound all that impressive at first, that is more than any other national park in the US and represents over 50% of the bird species in North America. Hidden out there amongst this vast desert landscape are also several threatened and endangered species, including jaguarundis, black-capped vireos, and ocelots. While it may not look like it, archaeological evidence indicates that this area was once covered by woodlands. Examination of the park has revealed over 10,000 potential archaeological sites dating all the way back to 8,000 BC.
Aichan and I are taking another hop into Mexico. We're using the Boquillas River crossing, and we're going to go into the little village there, maybe get some tacos, go find the traditional cache, and if time still allows, the earth cache before hopping back in and continuing our tour of the park.
To cross into Mexico through Big Bend National Park, you'll use the Boquillas Port of Entry gate. Once you've crossed through the gate, the only way to officially cross into Mexico is across the river. It is pretty shallow here and fairly easy to wade across, but if you want to keep your feet dry, you can pay a few bucks to get into a rowboat and have one of the nice locals pole you across. Boquillas del Carmen is located about a mile from the river crossing. You can pay a small fee to ride a donkey or a horse into town, which would offer quite the unique experience, but I didn't think Aichan would go for this, so we used our own 2 feet and 4 paws respectively to cover the mile into town. With as much driving as we had to do to cover the ground through Big Bend National Park, both of us were more than happy for the walk. In practically no time at all, we'd eaten up the ground and made our way into town, knowing that we had arrived when we saw the donkeys staged on the other side, waiting for more riders to head back to the river. I've come into Mexico on many occasions, but never have I crossed into a place that I enjoyed more than Boquillas del Carmen. Located immediately west of the northern part of the Sierra del Carmen mountain range and at the southwest end of the Rio Grande's Boquillas Canyon, this is the northernmost populated place in Mexico's municipality of Ocampo. Originally founded as a mining town in the latter part of the 19th century, this little village now primarily survives on the tourism at the Boquillas crossing. Aichan and I simply could not seem to get enough of this quaint little village. While all of the people that I met on the streets were very friendly, the same thing could be said about the canine population in town as well. Every dog that we passed was very interested in the new visitor into town and wanted to come over and say hello. Aichan is not used to being showered with so much attention all at once. And given that she only speaks English and Japanese, there was a bit of a translation problem too, so it wasn't too long before she asked if we could take a break in one of the local restaurants. She said her goodbyes with the last of her new friends, and then we sat down to relax for a bit. She was more than happy to take a break from all the sniffing and to get out of the wind as well.
While we normally don't do sit-down restaurants, this is a rare exception. Being here on this side of the border and in a very comfortable small town, I really like this spot. We're gonna go ahead and sit down and enjoy some tacos, fresh from Mexico. And yes, I try to get a little bit. Anything with meat, I share with her.
Don't think for a moment though that in all of our enjoyment of the local sites that we forgot what we actually came over here to do. There is exactly one physical geocache located in this part of Mexico, and it is maintained by the local staff of the restaurant. The geocache page provides a good description because they definitely want you to be able to make the find. After you walk out through the back of the restaurant and soak in the view, you just need to search through the rock wall for a loose rock to find a bison tube hidden behind it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
And just like that, another geocache in Mexico. Arriba!
Just south of the river crossing to reach Boquillas del Carmen, you can also find El Calderon Spring, which is a spring fed by geothermally heated groundwater seeping up from the Earth's crust. Just like the pathway to reach the village, it was a very easy trail to follow. It was also very quiet, allowing Aichan and I to enjoy the desert beauty here in Mexico in all its splendor. Given the time of year, and the complete lack of footprints leading down this way, I didn't have much expectations for the springs, and sure enough, when we arrived, it was just the hot water flowing into a very shallow pool. No problem at all though, as we were still able to answer the questions and then make our way out to the Rio Grande River to enjoy a fantastic view out over the water. On the way back to the crossing point, we encountered a donkey that had gotten away from the pack. Both the donkey and Aichan were very curious about one another.
A successful trip into and back out of Mexico, and my favorite trip ever into Mexico. Now we've waned away about half the afternoon doing this, but it was well worthwhile. Now Aichan and I are going to use the rest of our daylight to continue exploring Big Bend National Park.
What we discovered in the park today is that most of the earth caches are located along paved roads that are very easy to negotiate in almost any vehicle. All of the virtuals, however, will bring you to off-road trails. Although I was able to make it to a couple of these listings with my high clearance all-wheel drive vehicle, it was a pretty rough ride. I would not recommend chasing after almost any virtual in the park without a high clearance all-wheel drive vehicle at the minimum, and a four-wheel drive vehicle would be much better. The easiest of these virtual listings to get to is the Hot Springs Big Bend in the very southeast corner of the park. This store is the starting place for a trail that leads out to the hot springs along the riverbank. While long ago abandoned, this was once the spot of a rustic riverside resort developed by J.O. Langford over 100 years ago. Before wrapping up our day in Big Bend National Park, we enjoyed a long drive along the Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive, which brings you to some of the most scenic places you'll be able to view in the park.
All right, that is going to do it for our day, and what a beautiful day it was to be able to spend in this gorgeous national park. We didn't get to as many of the virtuals and the earth caches as I would have liked. Except for a few of the earth caches and a couple virtuals that are along the main roads, the rest of them are on dirt roads that are rather difficult to navigate. We did a couple of them, and they took us an extraordinarily long time of negotiating our way down really rocky, bumpy roads to get to those posted coordinates for each of them. And the juice just isn't worth the squeeze to continue doing that. For us, the real trip into the park was getting to see all this. And as far as I'm concerned, that's mission accomplished. The virtuals and earth caches were just an extra that are going to be a bridge too far for us. So we're not going to end up doing a second day in the park. We're going to cut out from here and stage ourselves for tomorrow, which is going to be our final day of Texas. Definitely the high point of the day today, which I actually thought was going to be a side note, was our trip into Mexico via the Boquilla crossing into Boquillas del Carmen. We had a great time walking our way into the city and getting to see the hot spring, although there wasn't much going on there, as well as finding a geocache. We got to enjoy some tacos, got to meet some street dogs. Everybody in that town was absolutely friendly, and it was really quite the adventure for us. That was definitely my favorite part of the day. Very excited to get back to somewhere where we have just a little bit of internet signal so we can actually send the answers to the virtuals and the earth caches we've done today, and to find a place to bed down for the night. Thank you guys for joining us. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.